Cricket, a sport which would be viewed by many as quintessentially English. But this game that originated in the upper echelons of 17th and 18th century English society is now arguably behind football the second most popular sport in the world. Some sports, notably football, do truly have a global reach, with its fan base spread fairly evenly across the world, and others, like American football, have monumental popularity but predominantly within one country. Cricket straddles an interesting middle ground between these two levels of support, as it is extremely popular in a few countries but treated with bewilderment in others. If you look at all of the top cricket playing nations in the world today, what do they have in common? All of the current Test match nations with full ICC status were either previously a part of Britain, a British colony, or a British protectorate at one point in their history. This is clearly demonstrated by looking at a historical map of the British Empire, which almost perfectly matches up with today's cricket playing nations. Consequently, this raises a key question. What happened in places such as the United States, Canada, and West Africa, where cricket did not catch on like other former colonies such as Australia, India, and the West Indies? Perhaps an oversimplified answer to why the United States doesn't like cricket today could be that America just does not like to share sports with the rest of the world. After all, the three highest grossing sports in America today were all developed in and are predominantly played in the United States itself. However, there are also historical reasons as to why cricket is not popular in the USA. In comparison to today's cricket playing nations, the United States gained its independence very early, meaning that the ties with Britain and subsequently cricket were weakened in the 19th century. Despite this, cricket did indeed retain some popularity in America, and the first ever international cricket game was actually played between the United States and Canada in 1844 in New York. Moreover, national cricket teams frequently toured the United States of America prior to the Civil War, with the cricketing epicenter of the country being Philadelphia in Pennsylvania, where first-class cricket matches were somewhat of a regularity. However, after the US Civil War, cricket was on the decline in America, perhaps suffering at the hands of the rise of baseball in the mid-19th century. The relative similarity of both sports made it very difficult for both to be popular, and with patriotic sentiment rising post-Civil War, cricket's popularity dwindled, whilst the better marketed and perhaps easier to understand baseball percolated into American culture. With the United States being left out of the formation of the ICC in 1909, any hope of the USA becoming a major cricketing nation was gone, as the country would not be able to play international cricket. Interestingly, at the time, the ICC was called the Imperial Cricket Council, instead of the International Cricket Council as it is called today. This signifies how closely connected the presence of the British Empire was to the spread of the game. It may be easy to dismiss the lack of cricket's popularity in Canada down to the weather. However, the summer temperatures of the southern cities of Canada would make the nation's climate favourable for cricket in the summer months, just like in England. While the role of the weather may have been a factor, Canada was released from British control significantly later than the US, which makes Canada even more unusual, as it is the only one of the former dominions of the British Empire in which cricket is not widely played. So what's happened in Canada since that 1844 game? Well, Canada may have indeed taken its cues from the United States, as baseball did also soar in popularity in the late 19th century. Canada was beginning to be more and more culturally influenced by its large neighbour next door rather than England, meaning that unlike in Australia, New Zealand and South Africa, interest in the sport dwindled. It is also peculiar that cricket did not catch on in other former British colonies, for example in West African countries in places such as Nigeria, Gambia, Ghana and Sierra Leone, where the climate is certainly much more ideal for a spot of batting than the Yukon. This is especially unusual considering that cricket to this day is popular in the southern part of Africa, relatively widely played in Kenya, and almost a way of life in the Caribbean. Well, a simple answer as to why cricket is not played in West Africa may be football. After all, as we have seen in the United States and Canada, the popularity of one sport often comes at the expense of another. As in all of these nations, football has enormous popularity, However, once again, there are historical reasons for the lack of interest in cricket. Like in many other British colonies, cricket was played historically in West Africa. In 1904, an international cricket match between the Gold Coast, modern-day Ghana, and southern Nigeria occurred in Lagos. Although this match was multiracial, many of the subsequent matches between the Gold Coast and Nigeria were played by Europeans only. Such early exclusion of the majority of these areas' populations undoubtedly contributed to the limited popularity of cricket in the future. Compare the situation in West Africa to the West Indies, for example, whom, by their inaugural Test match in 1928, had several black players in their international team, including some legends of the game such as George Headley and Leary Constantine. Despite cricket failing to gain mass popularity in West Africa, in 1976, Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone and Gambia combined to form the West Africa cricket team, perhaps trying to replicate the successful model of the West Indies. However, by this point, football's popularity had soared in West Africa, with the United cricket team not seeing much success at all. It would therefore seem that a combination of infrastructural limitations, the segregation of the game in the colonial era, and the saturation of the sports market by football are all contributing factors to cricket's lack of popularity in West Africa. It is worth noting that there has been a recent resurgence of cricket in all of these nations. Nevertheless, the relative lack of popularity of cricket in these countries shows the effect that our history has on our cultural influences today.